The Oblivion of the White Moonlight. Chapter 1, The Past of the Lingxiao Sect. Lingxiao Sect is located in the depths of the Yungxiao mountain range, surrounded by mountains and mist, and is a hidden Taoist sect. The sword path of the Lingxiao sect has had an unrivaled reputation since the creation of the sect. Every senior sister who practices kendo has shaped the prestige of the sect with a calm and ruthless attitude and a heart like water. And the most dazzling among them is undoubtedly the current Lingxiao sect senior sister, Bai Ziyu. Bai Ziyu has shown an unusual talent for kendo since she was a child, and no one in the sect does not call her the chosen one. Since she was a child, she has integrated her life with kendo, clean and self-loving, and has never been involved in the outside world. Her beauty and grace, like the moonlight in the sky, cold and lofty, make everyone who approaches her feel an untouchable distance. However, one day 7 years ago, her world collapsed. At that time, Bai Ziyu strayed into the ancient ruins in the depths of the Lingxiao sect and inadvertently triggered a long-standing prohibition. She stayed in for 3 whole years and lost all her memories. 3 years later, she was discovered by the disciples of the sect and brought back to the sect. But since then, she has become somewhat apathetic, ignorant of her past self and indifferent to things in the outside world. She is still an excellent kendo master, but the gap in her heart has never been filled. Chapter 2, Strange Visitors. One day, when Bai Ziyu was leading his disciples to practice on the periphery of the sect, a strange man led 2 young children and stepped into the gate of the Lingxiao sect. The man seemed to be in the dust, but there was perseverance and sadness in his eyes. He walked to the gate of the sect and said to the disciple guarding the door, "Excuse me, is this the Lingxiao sect? I came to my wife." The disciple was attracted by the man's determined temperament and quickly invited him in. Although the men's clothes are not flashy, they do not lose their bearing. When he walked into the sect, everyone noticed the 2 children next to him. The 2 children, one boy and the other girl, about 5 or 6 years old, stood with their father in a strange way. Bai Ziyu came from a distance, and her eyes involuntarily fell on the 2 children. Her heart moved, and she suddenly felt an inexplicable familiarity. The 2 children, especially the girl, had certain features on their faces that felt so familiar to her, as if they had seen them somewhere. Her hand trembled slightly, and the sword in her hand suddenly fell to the ground, and the tip of the sword pierced into the ground with a crisp sound. Seeing this scene, the man quickly stepped forward and said in a low voice, "Senior sister, do you remember me?" Bai Ziyu was stunned, her gaze wandered on the faces of the man and the 2 children, and there was a vague fragment of memory surging in her mind, but she couldn't piece it together clearly. Her heart raced, but she still calmly responded, "Are you?" The man smiled bitterly, "My name is Ling Feng, 7 years ago, with you we had a while. Chapter 3, The Lost Past. 7 years ago. You are? Bai Ziyu frowned, trying to find a hint of familiarity in the man's face, but still couldn't recall anything related to him. Ling Feng didn't rush to answer, but looked down at the children standing beside him. His tone was a little choked, "This is our child, this is Xianer, this is Xiaoer. We used to be together. But you lost your memory, and I can't make you recall the past. 7 years ago, we met in a spiritual retreat, and that's when our fate began." Bai Ziyu stood in place, her heart in chaos. There does seem to be an unclear gap in her memory, especially from that time 7 years ago. She remembered that she had a deep emotional connection, but that memory was as foggy as a blur. Ling Feng continued, "You were forced to stay away from me and the child in order to protect the sect. I fled the disaster with them, but I never saw you. Until today, I finally found you." Bai Ziyu's heart was surging with all kinds of emotions, but she still asked calmly, "You said that we had a relationship, why do I have no memory at all?" Ling Feng's eyes were gloomy, "That disaster made you lose your memory. I have been by your side and take care of the children until today. Chapter 4, New Challenges. When the whole sect heard this, they were shocked. The sect master also went out of the customs in advance because of this matter, and personally came to the main hall of the Lingxiao sect to understand the situation. After hearing about the background of these 2 children, the sect master raised his eyebrows slightly, and became interested in the talents of the 2 children. These 2 children are very talented. Xiaoer is the best single spirit root, and Xianer is the body of Swanyan, which is 1 in a million. The sect master's tone was excited, even a little eager. They are rare cultivation qualifications, and they must be included in the sect. Bai Ziyu stared at the two children, feeling a little complicated in her heart. She didn't want them to be threatened in any way, especially when she found out that the girl, Xian'er, had some of the abilities she once had. Will these two children be the wizards of the future? She began to wonder if all of this had something to do with her lost memories. Chapter 5, Solving the Mystery. Bai Ziyu's mood became heavier and heavier. She knew that the arrival of these children would change the course of her life. Ling Feng's appearance made her have to face the lost memories of the past again. She embarks on a path to find the truth, not only for herself, but also for the past she can't recall. In her heart, a voice told her that the fate of these children may have been closely linked to her destiny. And she herself, no longer the indifferent and ruthless kendo genius, began to face her true self. Chapter 6, The Truth in the Fog. With Ling Feng's appearance, Bai Ziyu's mood became heavier and heavier. Although her kendo is still unmatched, the regrets of the past still linger. Every time she looked at the two children, a vague picture involuntarily appeared in her heart, that was the warmth she once had, the love that once existed. In order to clarify the truth of the past, Bai Ziyu decided to go to the ancient ruins and return to the place where she had lost her memory. She knew that there might be hidden memories of her loss, and maybe that disaster was the key to solving all the mysteries. Seeing that she intended to go to the ancient ruins, Ling Feng hurriedly stopped her. Senior sister, the land of ancient ruins is extremely dangerous, you shouldn't go again. If I hadn't fled with my children, I am afraid that even we would not have been spared from the disaster there. Bai Ziyu glanced at Ling Feng deeply, there was no fear in her eyes, only determination. I have to go, it's the only place where I can unlock my memories. If I don't step into that forgotten land myself, I can't really get back to the past. Ling Feng's eyebrows tightened, and he was a little anxious in his heart, but seeing that Bai Ziyu had already made up her mind, she finally agreed. In that case, I'll go with you. Chapter 7, The Mist in the Ancient Ruins. Bai Ziyu and Ling Feng led the children to the entrance of the ancient ruins. The environment here is eerie, no one has been here for many years, and the grass is overgrown, and some ruins can be faintly seen. It used to be a place of spiritual practice, but when that disaster struck, everything was reduced to rubble. The moment she stepped into the ancient ruins, Bai Ziyu felt a familiar breath, and her heartbeat unconsciously accelerated. It was a force that had once belonged to her, but with a little strangeness. She felt that her memories were picking up bit by bit, but they seemed to be obscured by a layer of fog that was difficult to see. Ling Feng walked beside her with a serious expression, obviously he also sensed the strangeness here. What has happened in this place? Why does it make you lose your memory? Bai Ziyu stopped and stared at the ancient altar in front of her. The altar was covered with runes, exuding a strange power that sealed her memory. Here. It was once a forbidden place. Back then, my brothers and sisters from the sect entered this place to explore, but the ban was triggered. At that time, I was stuck here and lost 3 years. Ling Feng frowned. Forbidden? What the hell is hidden here? Bai Ziyu looked down at her feet, her lips moving slightly. I remember that we found something forbidden back then. It is a powerful magic weapon, which is said to be able to control life and death, and seal everything. I touched it by accident. There was a hint of melancholy in her voice, and a hint of unease flashed in her eyes. I don't remember what happened, but I felt. There is something that connects with me and seals my memories. Before she could finish speaking, the ground of the ancient ruins suddenly shook violently, and the surrounding stones began to shake. Bai Ziyu instinctively drew her sword, but at the moment when the tip of the sword touched the ground, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her eyes. The man was dressed in a shabby black robe, his face was pale, and his eyes were piercing, as if he had traveled through time and space. You're finally here. The man said softly. Bai Ziyu's heart was shocked, and she immediately recognized the person in front of her. Are you the senior brother who guarded the forbidden land back then? The man nodded, a hint of sadness in his tone. Yes, I am the disciple who was chosen to protect this ancient ruin. However, when we opened the forbidden place, everything changed. We touched something we shouldn't have touched, and since then, this ancient ruin has been sealed, and you have lost your memory. Chapter 8, The Lost Truth. Bai Ziyu stared at the man deeply, and an inexplicable emotion surged in her heart. What is that artifact? Why does it seal my memory? The man looked at her with a hint of pity in his eyes. It is a powerful artifact called the Wheel of Infernal Affairs, which has the ability to control time and space, memory and life. At the beginning, it was precisely because we misused it that the entire sect fell into disaster. You took on the power of the seal at the time, and that's why you lost your memory. Bai Ziyu felt dizzy and confused. So, why am I the only one who has lost my memory? And the others? None of them were affected. The man sighed, because the power you possess is the only forbidden power that can withstand that magic weapon. Your connection to the infernal wheel is so deep that when it seals your memories, you forget everything. But your true mission is not over yet. A chill passed through Bai Ziyu's heart. She didn't know what the true mission that person was talking about, but she knew that all this would eventually change her life, and even the fate of the entire Ling Xiao sect. Ling Feng listened from the sidelines, frowning, obviously puzzled by all this. So, senior sister, how should your memory be restored now? What exactly are you going to do? Bai Ziyu turned her head and looked at the two children, a hint of determination flashed in her eyes. I must retrieve the artifact and solve all the mysteries. Only then will I be able to take full control of my own destiny. Ling Feng gently held her hand, his eyes full of determination. I'll be with you, no matter how difficult it may be. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 9, A New Beginning. As Bai Ziyu's memories gradually recovered, she also began to realize that her fate was closely related to this ancient ruin and the infernal wheel. She will no longer be the simple kendo genius, but an existence with a heavy responsibility. It's just getting started.